Hi folks, Dave and Becky here, rolling with the Davises. While in Tombstone last fall, we went to Bisbee and did a guided tour of the Queen Mine. Reservations are needed for this tour and must be booked online. You will be issued a hard hat, a lamp, and a safety vest before going underground. Tour guides are all retired mine employees. Our tour guide was Benny. He was extremely knowledgeable. He will travel 1,500 feet into the mountain on the same tracks and cars that the miners used.
This is the only place we have stairs. All the rest will be a walk-in. Now then, back in 1915, let's say that shift boss comes in to these two men and he says, look, we gotta go this way. We want you to start drilling and blasting. Well, in 1915, folks, that's the first drill. And the first jackhammer is a 4-pound hammer called a single jack. And the man that started out, he'd hit it, twist it, hit it, twist it, hit it, twist it. Why is he twisted? Well, number one, he doesn't want his steel to get stuck, and number two, he's got to make a round hole. Dynamite's round. Once he's got that hole started, they say your hole is collared. Now let's pick up the speed a little bit. We're going to give you a longer piece of steel, but now then we're going to give you a bigger jackhammer. A 12-pound sledgehammer called a double jack. Now this becomes a two-man operation by candlelight. One man's going to stand here and turn it. The other man's going to stand back here and hit it. I wanted to demonstrate this a little bit, but did you notice my partner didn't come up here? Oh yeah. He told me this morning, I got a sore thumb. Probably does. Folks, don't you know that the man that had this piece of steel in his hand turned and told that gentleman that had this hammer, you might be swinging it today. Remember, it's my turn tomorrow. Don't miss. There was a lot of fingers and hands that got hit. And then around 1920, this machine came underground. This machine started saving lives. Folks, miners fell down holes, got rocks on their heads, got kicked by the mules. What was the biggest killer underground? How about silicosis? Dust. That was the killer. When this machine come underground, run with air, but it had water going all the way through it to the end of that drill steel, therefore eliminating drill dust and extending the lifetime of a miner. Now bear in mind with me, in the last days of the mines in Bisbee, base pay for a miner was $45 a day. Also in the last days, there was only 3 kinds of a miner. First type of miner was that stope miner. 4 men to a stope, 2 working day shift, 2 night shift, and they rotated every 2 weeks. Now those men that were in the stopes were given a standard. The company wanted them to produce so much rock on a 2 weeks basis. At the end of 2 weeks, they tallied up their tonnage. Anything that went over that standard, they got paid a bonus of $10 a ton per man, plus their $45 a day in wages. Now, you got a second miner in these mines. That's that man in the hole up there. Now, he's called a raised miner. Now, him and his partner only work day shift. Their job is to drive a hole from one level to the next level, normally up to an ore body or through an ore body. And as they go up, they got to put in air and water lines, carry ventilations, put in ladders, put in landings, put in a chute. That piece of equipment he's holding in his hand is called a stoper, weighs right at 180 pounds. Takes 4 pieces of steel to drill a 7-foot hole, but it does run with air and water. Now those men were given contracts. 2 levels up. That's how they transferred ore from up above us to this level to take it out. Now then, back in 1915, they hired stout young men that brought them down here. They give them a job title called trammer. That young man would come down here, take a car like this, called an A car, and he'd hold 3/4 of a ton of rock. He'd push it up under one of these chutes, get on a little platform, open up that door, and fill it up. Then on this level of this mine, he would get behind it and he pushed it to the front of the mine, dumped it, and came back all day long. And then around 1917, they brought mules underground. Now the mules did quite well, but you have to understand something. Those mules were a little bit smarter than the miners. They formed the first union. They would pull 4 of these cars and no more. When they tried to give him that 5th car and that mule heard that 5th chain pop, he quit pulling. Take that 5th car off and away that mule would go to the front of the mine, get his cars dumped, and then come back. And then around 1925, that little motor that I brought you in here with came underground. It's called a Manchi motor. Runs on batteries. Pulled about 20 of these cars and the mules were all taken out and put in a pasture. Go right into that wall. Now that's the back holes, the breast holes, the 2 relievers, the skimmers and the lifters. This right here, folks, is not a funny face. It's called a 5-hole burn, and it's drilled in this hard rock for a reason. When this center hole goes off, it breaks to these 4 dummy holes. Now the idea of this is, since I'm wanting to move ahead 7 feet, is I've got to create a cavity right there, 7 feet deep. Then I'm going to blast 1 hole at a time. If I tried to blast them all at one time, I wouldn't get a foot of that rock. That dynamite will blow right out of that hole like a shotgun blast. This car right here is called an E car. Holds 3 tons of rock. When you came into our facility, I know you saw that trolley motor outside. That trolley motor on the main haulage run could pull 30 of these cars loaded at about 40 to 45 miles an hour. Now, when you saw him coming, you found you a hole and you got in it. He doesn't have brakes. The only way he controls that motor is to reverse the polarity on that engine. This little car right here, it's called an H car. Holds 1 ton of rock. Now this is the kind of cars I used in the crosscuts. This piece of equipment right here, it's called a Finley. It's nothing but a glorified front-end loader that runs on the rails, all powered by air. When you threw this handle back, that bucket in front, full of rock, came right over and threw it right into this car. Take about a minute to a minute and a half to fill this car up. We hung all the toilet paper up here on the wire. Why? Because we had rats and we had cockroaches, big ones. Now we fed them. We didn't pet them, but we kept them for a reason. If you're working somewhere and the rats and the cockroaches come out, get on that rail and take off running, you better go back here and look at your mountain. She's moving. They could sense the movement of the earth before we could. Now let's say we have a new person underground that needs to utilize this facility. I think I'll take you. We're going to pretend you need this, all right?
Okay.
All right, I want you to get up there and sit down on that pot.
White shirts.
Oh, it's clean. It hadn't been used today yet. All right, are you comfortable?
Yep, so
Okay.
comfortable.
Now then, the next thing. Would you like a little privacy?
Yes.
I'm a good guy. Going to give her privacy. As I walk away, let's go back and talk about what I said the grade of the tracks were in the stove. 2%? Kick the wedge out from under those wheels. You're moving all right. As this car goes rolling down through the dark, you'll scream, squall, bawl, throw a fit, and somebody's going to tell you, set the brake. We'll grab a hold of that brake right there, right behind you. There you go. Got a hold of that? Good. Now I want you to know something. These cars have no brakes. That's a valve that dumps it. I'm not through with you. Once this car gets stopped, I'll show up with a 5-gallon bucket, a shovel, a sack of white lime, and a water hose. You know what your new job is?
Clean it out.
You know what they call it? Initiation. You've just been initiated underground. Did all new people underground get initiated? Folks, I had to shovel it up too. Are you through now?
Yep, I'm all done.
All right, let's give this lady a big hand.
I hope you enjoyed our video today and that it inspires you to visit the Queen Mine. You will learn many more things about mining. Be sure to visit the town of Bisbee and the surrounding area and learn about a time when copper was queen. And as always, let's keep rolling.